Hi, I'm Alexis, welcome to Alexis Guitars. This is part 3 of my series on building an electric guitar from scratch. Now I'm actually filming this intro after having done all of the work that you're going to see in this episode. So I've got the guitar in its first finished form, and I'll explain what I mean by that at the end. But its first finished form sitting right next to me here. I'm not going to show it to you just yet. You're going to have to wait till the end to see it and hear it. But I'm going to take you through everything I've done since the last episode until now. Let's take a look. So before I actually get into the footage of me working on the guitar, there's a few things I need to go through first. So the first thing I want to say is a huge thank you to everyone that's been watching the videos of this series so far and commenting. I've really enjoyed chatting to you guys about it all. You've given me some super helpful tips, and also from your comments I've been able to find out that the top of a guitar is most probably quarter-sawn red oak. So that's awesome, thank you so much, I really do appreciate that. And do comment under this video to let me know what you think of the build, anything that you would have done differently. Let's just keep the conversation going, I've been really enjoying it. The second thing I want to talk about is a correction I had to make on the guitar body in between the end of last episode and kind of starting for work for this one. So at the end of the first episode, what you saw was me applying a coat of orange oil to the top of the guitar. Now the orange oil isn't a finish, I've went through this in the last episode, but just to remind you, the orange oil doesn't add any protection, or it's not a finish, but it does make the color pop, it cleans the wood out and treats it a little bit, so it's just a nice thing to do to it basically. The problem was, I then did that to the back, to the Robinho wood, which is the main wood of the body of the guitar, and it just didn't like it. I've got some footage, I'll play that while I'm talking about this. For some reason, it just didn't soak up the oil like the top did, and even though I wiped it down after it started to feel a bit tacky, it felt sticky for about a week and a half, 2 weeks after applying it. So after about 2 weeks, I ended up just sanding it all back and kind of starting fresh with the back of the wood. So I took away all the orange oil residue because it was sticky. It stank of the orange oil as well, even after a week and a half or so. And I just wasn't happy with it. I felt like I'd ruined it, to be honest, but I didn't. I sanded it all back. There was no more trace of that orange oil on the Robinho wood, so I was really happy with that. And while I was waiting for all of that to happen, the actual finishing oil, which I've been waiting for from Crimson Guitars, the Crimson Guitars high build finishing oil arrived. So after sanding it back, I was able to start on the guitar finish, and that's what you're going to see in this episode. That's where I'm going to start it off. So that's the talking out the way to kind of get you up to speed with what's been happening so far. Let's take a look at me actually finishing this guitar. So excuse the mess in the background, but this is 5 coats of Crimson Guitars finishing oil. I really like this oil. I love the finish it's giving. It's a really nice feel. It looks great. So I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to leave this overnight. I mean, it's meant to be touch dry in 2 to 4 hours, and it's been really hot, so I've been only waiting 2 hours normally between coats, and that's been absolutely fine. But I'm going to leave it overnight now just to really cure, and in the meantime I can get started on making sure the neck is playable. Okay, well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 threads, which are uneven. Yeah, that's 12 inch. So this is a 12 inch radius. So just a quick update, because I'm not sure how much of that got recorded. I started off using the 12 inch radius block to flatten out all of the high frets. There were 13 frets which were causing rocking when I was using the fret rocker. So 13 out of 21 or 22. Quite a few there, needed work. No problem though, this flattened it out nicely. I then needed to round it off. Now a few days ago I spent ages trying to flatten out the sides of these narrow bits, the sides of these files, so that they're nice and smooth, so that when I try and round off the fret ends and try and round off the frets themselves, it won't do any damage to my fretboard. Thing is, these are just some cheap ones I got from Amazon. They came with a little pack here. You can see there's quite a few in there. They're not the greatest. I don't want to just blame my tools. The thing is, this is such a skill. I really want to invest in a proper fret file, because I really want to get good at using files to round off the frets so that they're nice and comfy, and also round off the fret ends so that they're nice and comfy, and round the frets off so that they're the perfect shape. I found it with these cheap things super difficult, so I reverted back to this, which I must say, I also got this from Amazon, and I must say, this did a great job of just a very quick fix. And most of these are pretty round. I need to go over it one more time just to really smoothen it out before I start polishing up the frets. And that gave me a really nice, well, they're still nice and level, which is great. Going over with the fret rocker, there's not much rocking at all. Maybe one or two down here, but that should resolve itself when I round them off a little bit more. So yeah, I can really recommend this tool as a quick fix. It's not as good as knowing how to use a file properly, so that's definitely a skill I'm going to develop. But for now, and for just a Harley Benton kit neck, which is nothing special to be honest, I'm very happy just using this to get a very quick finished product. Here is the name of the brand in case you want to see. Baroque. I got it from Amazon. So a little bit more rounding off on the frets to do. Need to get the headstock in a nicer shape so it's not just this blank. Oh, I've got a Graphtec nut and some Graphtec string trees which are going to go in, and some locking tuners. So I'll jazz up this neck a little bit in the next few days. So I've been working on the neck and the frets. I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. I'm going to go over it a little bit more with some steel wool just to polish up the frets a little bit more, but I can do that much later in the process. In terms of the fret rocker, they're all looking pretty good. The other thing I've done is I glued it. I don't know how I made a mess of this, but I glued in the new Graphtec nut. I literally just yanked the cheap plastic one out with one of these. And so I've got my Graphtec nut. I glued that in. I need to sand away some of the glue marks. Really, it's a messy job. I don't know why I did it so badly. And you can probably also make out I've drawn a little makeshift telly style headstock. So with the nut installed, I need to file that down so that it's flush with the sides of the frets. I can feel it at the moment when I run my fingers against it. So I'm going to smoothen that out. Clean up the fretboard a little bit. Oh, I also put some orange oil on the fretboard just to kind of moisturize it a little bit, I suppose. Alright, on with the filing down. So I'm happy with how the headstock turned out. I just did it just by eyeballing it, so it looks pretty telly-esque, which I like. I'm now going to apply one of my water transfer sticker logos on. So I'm going to apply one of these, something like that. Obviously I'm going to cut it down to size, just so my name's up there. And I'll do that now. There we are. Can just do some final adjustments before it really dries, and I think I like it like that. Alright, so I'm going to put some oil on to finish this up. I do have a lot of this Crimson Guitar finishing oil, but I'm really tempted to try this Camellia oil as well. I don't really want a huge finish on this, so I'm going to give it a go. See what happens. Being careful just to put it on the headstock and not on the rest of the neck. Great. Okay. Check it out. Neck is assembled. Got my name at the end of it. This is becoming an actual guitar. I got these in. These were a bit of a pain. I really did that badly. I didn't have the right tool to drill a perfectly sized hole, so I had to use a range of things, including a chisel. Eventually managed to hammer them in there. But they're in now. It's a nice tight fit. It looks like there's a gap, but that's mostly because the edge of this neck pocket is rounded off, so it looks like there's a gap. But actually it's a pretty tight fit, I believe. I hope. And now I just need to assemble it. Assemble the hardware, the electronics, and then I might be able to do a first playthrough in this video as well. We'll see. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, I'm not one for giving off tips because I'm still learning myself, but this is something that does work pretty well. When you've got a tight hole and a small screw, then it's always good to put a bit of wax on the screw as you screw it in, because it just glides in a lot easier without much friction, and there's less chance of the screw breaking off. So those are in, I just need to screw them in. I just showed the guitar around to a couple people and I noticed, there's a few little finishing scratch. I don't know where this came from. Don't know what happened there. There's a few little dings and things. This was the screwdriver, I made some mistakes. You can see I really made a mess of these things, but never mind, that's at the back. But here, there's a little ding. I don't know how that happened. Let me know in the comments below if I can just pour in a tiny bit of oil just in this and let that harden, or if there's any way to fix this little little dip in the finish. Other than that, all looking cool. Gonna get these screwed in now and finish up the assembly. So the bridge is attached. I just screwed that in and I checked with a piece of thread with this here, and luckily all of the things should be nice and lined up. We'll see when the strings actually go on what it's like, but should be all good. One thing I haven't done, which I was waiting till this stage to do, is drill the holes here for the pickups to screw into the body. I was doing a bit of research about that because I haven't got a top-mounted pickups guitar, and apparently you need different screws, but I'm going to just give it a go with the screws that come with it and see what happens. Nice. That looks so awesome. Okay, sorry, I'm a bit past there. That turned out great. Maybe it's not the straightest line in the world. To be honest, that is looking awesome. It's a bit of wiggle room, but not much. Perfect. So my phone decided to stop recording just as I wanted to show you the correction I was making. So I was really, and I've already said this in the video, I was really not happy with how I did these, so I've changed it basically. Now the first time round, I didn't have the right tool to drill a perfect radius hole. I used something which was not large enough, and then I went over it with a chisel, I think. I can't even remember that. Yeah, a chisel and a file, and I kind of got them big enough, and I then had to hammer in the, are these called string tree? No, neck screw bushings? I'm not sure what they're called. But these metal rings that the screws are sitting in, I literally had to hammer them in. And that was not, I don't know, I just didn't like that. So I invested in a set of drill bits, and now I've got some which are large enough. I just used one of these. This one is 15 mil in diameter, which gave me some extra wiggle room for these, which was good because I needed that so the screws could go in nicely and there was enough wiggle room for adjustment. Now they're all flush. It's not the neatest job. There's a few cracking finishes. There's a few cracks in the finish, unfortunately, but that's because it already had a about 13, 14 millimeter hole, diameter hole, and I just went over it with this thing and started spinning, and it ripped out a bit of the top. I'll do a close-up actually. So here you are. You can see it's flush, so that's a lot better. This one's still at a slight angle, but it's not a big deal. And you can see it's not perfect circles, and even where it is almost perfect circles, there's some bits that chipped off. Not a huge deal. I mean, it's at the back. I don't particularly mind. There's gonna be loads of scratches all over here from belt buckle scratches and just usage and stuff, so that's fine. I don't mind imperfections like that at the back. But I know for next time that I need to start with something like this and not make a hole and then try and widen it, because that is just a recipe. Well, I mean, if you don't know what you're doing like me, that's just a recipe for mistakes, and could have potentially been a lot worse than this, so not too bad. So for the neck position, I have this iron gear rolling mill. Let's get that iron gear rolling mill neck position. I think that's about 9K. I can't remember, maybe slightly more. And hopefully that fits in here if I do it the right way. Can you see I've got some foam in there as well, just to support the pickup as well. But for now I'm just doing a fit test to see whether it fits. And this is a pickup which I had in an SG, which unfortunately simply isn't a good guitar. It doesn't stay. Oh no, this hole is routed ever so slightly too small for a pickup with a cover. I need to get the file out. Where's the issue? Here. The issue is here in the corners, which isn't the biggest deal, because I've got one of these. Petrified right now. So the neck pickup is in. It's looking awesome. Not the best lining up. Seems to be ever so slightly this way. Shouldn't be an issue in terms of the volume or anything. So you can see that the cable goes through the tunnel thing, and I've left space with the foam, and the foam is just there to kind of lift the pickup up and support it a little bit, so it doesn't wobble. And I've left space so that the cable has plenty of space to go through into the pickup cavity. I'm now going to install the overwound rolling mill from Iron Gear bridge pickup. I really love this pickup. Hope it sounds good in this guitar. I also need to put in the ground wire for the bridge, which also comes into this pickup cavity and goes through into there. So there we go, both pickups are in. There's a little dent on this pickup, super annoying because it's chrome and it reflects and you'll see it. But I'm really happy with this. I really like this top-mounted approach. I think it looks really smart. I need to get better at it because this doesn't look particularly great when you look straight in. But I'll figure something out to make that look a bit nicer. For now, this is working. I can adjust the pickup heights nicely. At the moment, they're at a good height. And all the wires are through to the other side. It's ready to get wired up. So this is where it gets exciting. I'm going to start wiring this up. Now I'm going to use a push-pull, a 500K push-pull for the volume. So that'll be here to pull it up and split the volume and to split the pickup, sorry. I'm going to use a three-way switch, which is one I've used before in other projects. It works absolutely fine, so I'm going to use that. And for the tone, as I'm filming this, I've not quite decided which I'm going to use. This is one which is in decent enough condition. It's been used before. It's got a bit of blob on it at the top from the solder. So I could use that if the thing is long enough to get through the thick wooden top. I do have this one here, which is longer, but it's not, yeah, it looks a bit used. I'll have to see about that. Or I could use this one, which is another push-pull, 500K, linear this time, but for the tone it doesn't really matter. I never really use it anyway. But when you lift it up, I could wire it up so it's a blower switch or straight to output mod. So basically it will bypass all of this, go straight to output and boost the signal, hopefully bring a bit more treble. We'll see. I haven't quite decided. I'm going to have a think about it and get started. And here's my little plan. So I can do a lot of the wiring outside of the guitar. And this is obviously the underneath, so this is the volume. I've decided to go for the push-pull tone, but that's mostly because of the length of the thing that sticks out so that it can actually have enough space. And here is the switch. So I'm going to start with the wiring, take it from there. Okay, well, let's see whether my first attempt at wiring this was a failure or not. I think I know what the problem. Okay, so far, okay, so just a quick test. I've got the switch wired the wrong way, so this is actually the neck, and this is the bridge. This seems to work. And the volume too. And the tone knob is fine as well. So both of these work. In this position, that's fine, but when I lift this up, everything cuts. So the thing that doesn't work is the straight to output mod in the neck position. In the bridge position, it works. If I lift it up, the volume knob does absolutely nothing, which is good. Same with the tone. In the neck position, I get no output whatever. Same here. Okay, so I need to fix that one thing. Well, I've had to admit defeat on this one. I've got the push-pull that splits both of these, which works fine. I couldn't get the tone knob to work as a push-pull blower switch, i.e. straight to output mod. I just couldn't get that to work. Every time I lifted it up, the volume knob was bypassed, but the tone knob still worked, and that just didn't make sense to me. I couldn't figure that out. So I've installed the standard non-push-pull, just a standard pot. I never used a tone knob anyway, so that's going to stay on max. This is all wired the right way. I've closed up the back, looking cool. Now I just need to attach the knobs, some strings, and I think it's good to go. So here it is, and I'm so happy with it. It's looking great, it sounds great, it plays and feels great. That's not to say there aren't any improvements to be made. There are things that didn't go perfectly or didn't go too well in the build process, which I want to talk about. But first I want to talk through some of the things which did turn out well. First of all, and it's just a general thing, I love the look of this guitar. I love this top. This oak is beautiful. I love the raise. I'm going to do some close-up shots so you can actually get a chance to see some detail. I also like the look in terms of the top-mounted pickups. This is my first guitar with top-mounted pickups. I love that look. I think it looks really cool. It looks really smart when it's done nicely, but this is done pretty well. I'm happy with that. And also, this is my first guitar with an actual top, which is a feature. So that's pretty cool. Getting into a bit more detail, other things I really like about this guitar is the intonation and the setup. This is intonated better than any of my other guitars, which means the bridge is in the perfect position because the strings are lined up nicely. They align up nicely with the screws on each of the pickups, so that's great. That's something I mentioned earlier in my video I was a bit worried about, but no need to be, they're absolutely fine. Other things that turned out well is the tuning stability. Now that's down to a few different factors. One would be the Graphtec nut and the other the Graphtec string trees. Those things are great. I've got those in quite a few of my guitars. And the other thing is these Harley Benton locking tuners. Now I've used these on a few different guitar builds, or not guitar builds, but guitar mods. And for about 38 euros or something, they're pretty cheap for locking tuners. I really like them. They seem to work absolutely fine, hold their tuning pretty well. So if you're after some locking tuners which are good but on a budget, I'll leave a link to Tollman in the description where you can get yourself some, and that's also an affiliate link, so if you want to support the channel, that'll be a great way to do so. But enough about that, back to the guitar. So there's a few things which didn't turn out great with the guitar. One is the finish. Now along the sides, and again I'll do some close-ups, but here along the sides and also a little bit here, it's not perfect. It's just there are some darker splodges and bits where I didn't really sand it enough. And you can see it when I applied the oil, it really showed those. So that's something which I'm going to do differently next time. I'm really going to take my time to, well, I say this now, I am planning to take my time and sand it all perfectly so that it's all flush and really nice. Another thing that needs improving is the pickup heights. That's all down to the screws I used. Like I said, this is my first guitar with top-mounted pickups, so figuring out how to do it with the screws was a bit tricky. I got it in the end, but I used screws which were too short. This is the maximum height I can get, and the pickup itself is a bit wobbly. I just want to put some longer screws in just so I have the option to raise that pickup a little bit more. I'm going to stick a bit more foam underneath the pickup as well to stabilize it so that it's not wobbling around. But to be honest, other than that, there's not much I'm not happy with. There are things I'll do better next time, having learnt throughout this process. Like I said though, this guitar is not finished. It's just finished for now, and it might be a while until the next episode of this, but what I want to do now is I want to build a neck. The plan right from the start, and I've said that throughout this series, was that this neck here was just going to be until I managed to make one which works, which functions properly, which is probably going to be a long time. So this neck is comfortable, I'm happy with it, but I'm going to be continuing the series with my process, or my first ever attempt of building a guitar neck, which is then going to go on this guitar. That's a long way down the road. There'll probably be a big gap between this video and the next one, but that's my plan for this guitar. So I think I'll leave the video here for now. I'll leave it on a high because I'm really happy with this guitar. You're going to be seeing it on my channel a lot when I'm doing some demos of pedals and other guitar bits and gear. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, click the bell, you know, all the general spiel at the end of these YouTube videos, but I'd really appreciate it. So that's all from me today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you found this video in some way helpful. At the very least, I hope you enjoyed it and had fun watching it, because this whole series has been a blast for me. I've been learning so much, and I'm really excited about my next build already. I think I want to build a few more guitar bodies before I start building a guitar neck. I'm not too sure yet. We'll see. I'll keep you all informed anyway. Okay, that's all from me today. Thank you so much. Till next time.